Our next presenter is my amazing friend, Rebecca Sewell. We typically have really high-level physicians to speak at our expos, but occasionally there is an exemplary patient story that we think the world needs to hear, and that is the case with Rebecca. She's over there smiling all nervously, but she doesn't need to be nervous because her truth is pretty phenomenal. I don't want to give too much of her story away, but I will tell you that Rebecca is native to the Midwest and has multiple chronic illnesses. Her body and the medical profession were failing her, and she found solutions in medical cannabis. I have supported Rebecca through her worst days to today, and I will continue to celebrate with her as she improves and becomes an advocate in her own right. Please welcome Rebecca.
Okay. You need to tip this down. Oh, because I'm short, I have to tip it down. Hi. Hi, everybody. So I'm here to share my medical journey. First, I want to thank Gracie for inviting me and being able to share this with you guys. I have known Gracie for 6 years now. We met actually on Facebook originally. We both have the same disease. We both have CRPS. And when she has connected me with many people and helped me along my journey. She actually met me, and I knew her when I was in this wheelchair on the picture on the side. I want to start this by saying a poem that I wrote when I was in this wheelchair, when I was going through a really hard time, and let everybody know where I was mentally. I titled it, "The Pain Without Any Gain." I asked God to take away the pain, but there was never any gain. I asked to be well, but felt like complete hell. I wished I could walk and could never talk about all the hard things. I'm an angel with no wings. Not knowing how to take it and trying not to throw a fit, closing up on the inside, always trying to run and hide. Thinking I was nuts, all the treatments were complete busts. You see all the people staring, the pain is always flaring. Being sick all night long, my life kept playing the same old song. Sick, hurt, and always crying, even though I thought I was trying. I want to feel like I belong, but my heart kept saying, how long? How long must I continue to fake a smile, even though this pain is vile? Not being able to get out of my room, it felt like they were putting me in a tomb, laying me to rest, but this is all one big test. I wanted a world I could call my own, but I can't because my pain will always be known. RSD is an evil spell that was cast. I hope this horrible feeling doesn't last. Feeling all alone, lifeless like a stone, no one understands, don't touch me with those hands. Wanting to get a good night's sleep, and all I can do is weep, the pain is too high, and all I can do is wonder why. So I obviously wrote that at a very hard time in my life, when I was in that wheelchair and very depressed. I want to start everything out. When I first got sick, I was first diagnosed when I was 10 years old in 1993. These are some pictures from back then. I actually have a letter that I wrote to the attorney on what had happened back when I was 10 years old. I wrote a letter. So I'm just going to kind of explain the situation. I'm going to read the letter, and you can kind of know what happened and how I was first diagnosed. I titled it, "A Magic Trick Turned Bad." When the bell rang at 3 p.m., kids piled out of the doors as I waited for my friend Melissa before boarding the yellow bus. We were in 4th grade, and if I had known all the pain I would have to go through, I would have never boarded that bus. The kids yelled and screamed as we found our way to the back of the bus. When we sat down, I was on the outside of the seat and was talking to Melissa about something important that had happened that day. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I felt something grab my ankles, and in reaction, I pulled my foot forward. After a while, what was pulling on my ankle had released. I wiped the tears from my face, and I looked to see what was grabbing me. And the kid next behind me had put handcuffs on my ankle and was playing a magic trick that I didn't know about. And after school, I always went over to Melissa's and we played dolls, but that day was different. I was in too much pain. I remember limping home. I called my mom at work and told her what had happened. She told me to put ice on it and it would be okay. I wish she would have been right. Within the next week, I went to a doctor who gave me crutches and diagnosed me with tendinitis. She told me to stay off my ankle for a while and to come back in a week and see my regular doctor. The week had passed and I'd come back. He checked it over and decided to put a cast on it. Now looking back, I think he must have put a cast because he didn't know what was wrong. After being fed up with no proper diagnosis, my parents made an appointment with a bone specialist. At this point, I was having very, very deep bone pain. My foot was purple, yellow, or purple, blue, and cold. So we made an appointment with him. He took the cast off and proceeded to take x-rays. After waiting 3 weeks, we finally got an answer as to what was wrong. He told me I had reflex sympathetic dystrophy, and I was his first case as a child. He actually ended up calling his friend in Chicago here, whose daughter was diagnosed with RSD as a kid too. And that was his first case, and usually only elders get this. I was one of about 15 kids who have gotten this in the whole world. After that, after we learned this, he sent me straight to physical therapy. Physical therapy was something I did not enjoy at all. I went for 8 months and hated it there. It hurt me so bad because I had to learn to use my foot all over again. One day I got so fed up, they had me put a scale underneath my foot to see how much weight I was actually putting on it. And I threw all my weight on it because I was just fed up. And after that, that was the worst pain I'd felt, and after that, they expected me to do that every day. After enduring 7 months of therapy, I could finally walk without crutches again. I needed a cane to get around, but by the summer, I'd have to go out to my dad's house. He lived in Columbus, Ohio, so I went to visit him. That was one of the worst vacations I ever had, because every other day I would have to go to physical therapy. And they put me in water therapy. Now I think about it, that really helped. When I came back that summer, I went back to see that specialist, and he was very impressed with all the progress I had made, because I guess they never expected me to ever walk on that foot again. Now I can still feel a change in my foot. It isn't 100% cured, but it is as good as it will get. When I sit here and think about all I've been through, it makes me feel good to know that I've accomplished something around here no one else has. So I wrote that when I was 10 years old, and that's the first situation that happened to me. I want to explain a few things here. I was diagnosed with RSD. It's now also known as CRPS, Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. It is believed to cause damage to the perineal nerves and in the sympathetic nervous system. The pain is seemingly disproportionate in time and the degree to the trauma. It is the most painful disease you can have. On the McGill pain scale, it is the highest ranked pain, above childbirth or even amputation. I would rather go through that. I had deep pain, and you also get deep burning pain. I don't know if anybody knows about the ice bucket challenge. Did anybody participate in that? So you put your hand in the ice and you put it there for as long as you can take it. And when you put that in, you get that intense burning feeling, that pain. Well, you're able to take your hand out and have that go normal. When you have CRPS, that burning pain is just constant until however long that flare lasts, or you're able to get that away. I was also diagnosed as a kid with Raynaud's syndrome in my fingers and toes. When I get stressed or cold in situations, my fingers will turn completely white in circulation. After this, I did go into a state of remission. My foot always felt different, but I was able to go on and live my normal life. Another medical thing I did have a rod put in my back when I was 16 for scoliosis, severe scoliosis, and I had no complications with that. So I went on and lived a normal life. I graduated high school in 2002 from South Dakota, where I'm from, and then I ended up in 2003 going to the University of South Dakota for accounting. I just love numbers. And I was there for a year and a half, and then I really like fashion too, so I decided numbers and fashion would be kind of cool. And my mom had found the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. And I applied and got in. I got accepted. We were chosen 1 out of 6 to get in. And I loved it out there. I went to FIT and I ended up graduating in 2005. These are some pictures of me and my friends at that time in New York. And after I graduated school, I ended up getting a job at Ross Stores as a regional analyst in their New York buying office for their men's and young men's. This was actually perfect for me. I could work with numbers and buyers and fashion a little bit and kind of get out there. I loved this career. This was great. And then everything was going well. In October of 2006, I ended up getting a stress fracture. Located about right here. It's in the same leg I had when I was younger, which was not good. And with this stress fracture, being in New York, obviously you know you walk around a lot. That's all you do. And the stress fracture was not healing because I just kept using the leg. He told me to stay off of it. I kind of used crutches, but I had to get to work too, so I just kind of did my thing. He ended up putting a cast on it to make me stay off of it and let the bone heal. And he kept it on for the full 8 weeks. During this time, my foot had gotten really swollen in the cast. It looked like you had blown up a glove, and my toes were sticking out. My leg had become so swollen in the cast. I called the doctor and told him, and he just kind of put me off as a whiner, basically. Oh, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. So the 8 weeks rolled around, and he took the cast off. And you would think your leg would be thinner and smaller from muscle loss and everything. It wasn't. My leg was huge, and it was purple again, and I couldn't move my foot up and down. And I look at him, and I said, oh my God, the RSD is back. I knew that I had this pain. When I was a child, it was back. And he said, oh, no, you're not. And I said, I need to go see a pain doctor right now. Yes, I do. But I thought that I knew the answer. I had done this before as a kid, and I had beat it. I had been able to go into remission, and I thought I was going to be able to do this. So I went and I saw the pain doctor and told him, I want to go right to physical therapy. So that's what he did. He sent me to physical therapy, and I went 3 times a week after work. Well, again, being in New York, you still continue to walk, and I had to use a cane to get around. I also had really bad drop foot, not able to move my foot up and down, so I had to get a cane and a special brace to hold my foot up just to get back and forth to work. Sometimes with physical therapy, I would just go just to receive a heat treatment because the pain was so great just getting to therapy, because I would have to walk there after being at work all day trying to think of numbers. And the pain was just becoming so great. I had continued to work for another 1.5 years, and I was able to keep going there. And I remember just while in this time in New York, I had gotten 6 spinal blocks and 1 ganglion block, all with little to no relief while in New York. And they had started me on pain medications at this time. So 2.5 years had gone by. Living in New York and on my own was becoming increasingly difficult with the pain getting higher. I couldn't even do simple things like going and getting my groceries. I had to have a friend come with me because I couldn't carry them home. I couldn't bring my laundry downstairs to do my laundry. I'd have a friend come and do my laundry for me. And I was just to get things done. After 2.5 years with Ross Stores, though, I had gotten 2 more promotions and was the youngest control analyst they had in the company. So I was still excelling very well in my career. However, in November of 2007, I could not do it anymore, and I ended up having to go on short-term disability to be closer with my family. My mom, I moved to Florida at the time. This is where my mother was living to help take care of me. I would carry, I had a cane when I would walk around the house, and you can see the one picture on the side. I needed a wheelchair when we went out on long distances and stuff like that, just to get around. I always tried to use my foot as much as possible. I know the term is common, use it or lose it is common in the pain community, and so I definitely tried to use it as much as I could. Now, while in Florida, we definitely tried to do some treatments to help the pain. One of the things I did try was the pain stimulator. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. So it sounds like a tingling instead of the pain is what it's supposed to be. Honestly, I couldn't stand the tingling. It drove me crazy. It felt like when your foot falls asleep and it wakes up, and that was even worse than the pain sometimes. So that one I did not do. And then in 2008, we ended up doing a ketamine drip. I don't know if some people have heard of ketamine treatments. We tried doing a ketamine drip. I was one of the first people in Florida to try that. That was actually unsuccessful, I believe, because I was on pain medication at that time. We now know you should not be doing the 2 together because they bind to the same receptors. So the last thing was kind of left to do was to try a morphine pump, or a pump that would deliver medicine directly to my spine to hopefully bypass some of the side effects that all of the medication I was having to take would help. So I ended up doing the trial for that, and then I got that implanted. I ended up getting the 40cc implanted. It's a bigger pump. I had it right here in my stomach. And I would have to go about every 2.5 months to the doctor, and they would feel around, take a big long needle, and try to find the little tiny hole that they would have to go in to pull that morphine out and put new in. It was actually disgusting. It would hit the tin can a couple times. It was really gross. And then they would also program it at that time if I needed more medicine or less medicine. So after living in Florida, we decided to move back to South Dakota to be closer to family. And I want to say the picture of my foot up here, I just put one picture up here. This is this is how my foot would look every day. Swollen, edema, just not good, and very painful. In 2009, I had to get a hospital bed just because I was in bed so much and I needed to sit up and just relax. And then in 2010, I ended up getting 3 stomach ulcers and many erosions, and GI issues started from the RSD. In 2011, after living with my mom for a couple years, I decided I want to try to live on my own again. I want to try to be an adult. Even though I basically needed a wheelchair most of the time, I still wanted to try and do things on my own. So I had moved out. I had the morphine pump in for 3 years at this point. At 2011, I was also admitted to the ER for horrible pain in my stomach. They ended up removing a 6-centimeter cyst and my right fallopian tube and ovary and almost 20 ounces of liquid that were in my stomach. Also in 2011, I started getting severe jaw pain and almost every tooth hurt. Later, a few months later, they ended up having to remove 4 teeth. In 2012, things kind of go downhill here. My upper body, I was diagnosed with severe fibro, and obviously I'd suffered from severe depression at this point. And it was becoming, again, harder and harder to live on my own. I actually looked into other options before anything else. I looked into moving into a nursing home, assisted living place, and different places like that. I ended up moving back in with my mother. That was the best option at the time. That February, I had an overnight sleep study done, and I ended up having 12.3 apnea episodes in 60 minutes, with my oxygen levels going down to 77%. So it was then I received a BiPAP while sleeping. At that time, I was having a lot of problems with my bladder. I started having problems urinating. I was then diagnosed with interstitial cystitis, which is a painful bladder condition. That June, I ended up needing almost work done on every tooth. Every tooth was rotted from the dry mouth of the medication, I think, and I had to have all of my teeth removed. I now have a complete set of dentures. I also started having issues with my colon at this time. I was diagnosed with gastroparesis, which is a slow-moving bowel. And I also started having fuzziness in my left eye and eye pain. And you can see in these pictures that I had to wear a patch over my eye. And I was also just gaining weight and putting on a lot of weight at this time. So 2012 was not my year, to say the least. This is a full list of diagnoses. I have CRPS, scoliosis. I was diagnosed with diabetes at this point too. Interstitial cystitis, the Raynaud's, gastroparesis, also kind of went into the chronic inertia, which is just kind of a paralyzed colon, fibromyalgia, depression, obviously, anxiety, a low thyroid, insomnia, and sleep apnea. And these were the medications I was on. My morphine pump was at 13.84, continuously delivered straight to my spine. Oxycodone, up to 5 pills a day. A muscle relaxer in there. We got antidepressants, a sleeping pill, Adderall for energy, metformin for diabetes. The list goes on. I was on 12 different medications, taking 27 pills a day while getting continuous morphine. So to say I was on a lot of medication is an understatement. So with things not looking up in South Dakota, and also the weather, you guys know, being in the Midwest, the winter is brutal. And being in a wheelchair, I was not able to get out as much. So we looked into moving to some other place. So in November of 2012, my aunt and my mom and me, we ended up moving to Sacramento, California. And doing this, we had hoped that this would bring not only new doctors, but new treatments. And this also brought a support system. You can see the one picture is with me and my friends. She also has, all of them actually, have RSD and CRPS, and we met a really good community out there. So we did get a lot of sufferers. At this time, my bowels were completely shutting down, and I weighed around 190 pounds. I said I had diabetes and a thyroid issue. And with my colon, it was completely shutting down. I had gone almost 2 weeks without having a bowel movement. And when I would have one, they would have to use some kind of emergency laxative or an enema to even go to the bathroom. My body was just literally shutting down at this point, I believe. And she said, the surgeon has basically said, you will be on these medications forever, and there's nothing we can do. We will have to remove part of your colon. Just let me know when you're ready to do that on your go. Give my office a call. That's what her answer was. So that 2014, I was trying cannabis for the first time recreationally. Using flower. I was dating a guy at the time, and we just were smoking to smoke. I didn't really think it was medicinal at that point. Wasn't really sure. However, I realized while smoking and consuming cannabis, it helped my mind relax, which in turn helped my body relax. And I was so much more relaxed. So I brought it up, and so I started looking into different things. I looked on the internet, and I saw that it was helping a lot of people. So I brought it up to my doctors and said, what about you guys think of medical cannabis? Because I had the morphine pump in for 6 years at this time. At that time, you either have to get a new pump planted or just completely get it removed. So I asked them, I said, what do you guys think on medical cannabis? And he basically said, don't talk about that. If you want to talk about that, you just have to leave the office. I said, okay, and kind of just left. So he just strongly recommended I just get another replacement pump and go that way. However, as the cannabis was helping me more and more and just helping me relax, I found that it was helping me. And I didn't want this morphine pump in me anymore. These medications were not doing me any good. So what did I really have to lose? I was thinking, what did I have to lose by trying something else and trying a different route? Because this is not working. My body is shutting down. So it was then I decided to make my choice, and I actually completely changed insurance companies to get a whole new set of doctors, start a whole new path. So that July of 2014, I did change insurances, and I told them I wanted the pump removed. And it took a year to titrate down from that 13 milligrams all the way down to 0. As you can see in the one picture on the far left, I was starting to lose weight. My eyesight was coming back. My bowels were coming back. And I was able to drop some of the medications. So on July 5th of 2015, I went in to have the morphine pump removed, which should have been a same-day surgery and should have been in and out. That night I went home and my back started to leak, which is absolutely disgusting, and I had a spinal fluid leak. So back to the ER we went, and I was admitted directly to the ICU. So to clear the spinal fluid, they have to seal your back, and then you have to lay flat for 7 days, and then they do a thing called a tilt test, and they set you up and they see if it leaks again. Well, the first time it failed, so the second time it failed, so I'm laying flat for 14 days now, and they have to put me back on this morphine that I'd spent a year to get off of. I gotta go back on all this pain medication, and I'm laying in this hospital bed, and I am crying every day. I'm not sure how I'm gonna make it through this or what I'm gonna do. So my trusty hi-fi bar down there that you can see next to my bed, I would have a part of a medicated chocolate bar, and my mind would relax, and everything would be okay. I would tell myself, you can do this. This is your last step. You're almost done. It is out. This is it. I did have an allergic reaction. You can see to the stuff when they put it out. That's pretty gross. And then the back when they tried to seal it. So after 14 days, they realized that it was not going to seal on its own, and they were going to have to go in and physically close it. So that's what they did. They went in and closed it, and then, so I spent a total of 25 days in the ICU completely flat on my back, which was horrible. But that was the last hurdle in that sense. So in 2016, I continued to lower and stop most of my pharmaceutical medications, and I was feeling better. Again, I had lost, at this point, around 60 pounds, just naturally from getting off the pain medications and dropping the medications and all the water weight. Everything just gradually started to come off and go back. I was told I could stop my metformin as my A1C levels were under control. I no longer had diabetes. My thyroid, that came back too, so I was able to stop that. I was having normal bowel movements. I was able to urinate at this point. I was able to remove the patch off my eye as the fuzziness and pain had lessened. However, I want to say without all the success I have, there has been some falls. That December, I ended up having a seizure out of nowhere. And that was really scary. We still don't know exactly what caused that, so we're just kind of keeping an eye out on that. Currently, with medical cannabis helping so much, I have been involved politically and in the community. In Sacramento, there was Prop 64 for adult use just got passed in Sacramento, or in California, actually. And I was at the debate they had at the state capitol for the Prop 64. That was pretty interesting and very cool time to be around at this time to see everything evolve. And the other picture is me and my boyfriend, and it's kind of funny. I actually met him at a city council meeting, which is kind of ironic. But he is a lead farmer for a licensed company, and he was exploring business opportunities in Sacramento as they're releasing licenses and it's becoming more recreational. He is actually a lead farmer for Medicinal Movement, and they have property up north, so we go up there. And it has taught me, these are a few of his plants. Had to include some nice pictures for everybody to see. And it's actually, being with him has been really cool, and it's really different to learn what it takes to go into that medicine that helps me. From that seed all the way to the finish, and all the work that it takes. It's not as simple as manufacturing a pill, as many people think. It's farming, it's a live plant, just like anything else. So this is what I use. I don't recommend this exact regimen for anybody. What medications you take is probably different than what will help me. I just want to say what I use. I actually use a whole plant extract. It's also known as a Ricky Simpson oil. I take that morning and at night. It definitely helps me and relax my body. They actually use 14 different strains in this oil, and so it has every strain that you would need for the plant view, whether indica, sativa, and everything, whatever your body needs. The topicals definitely help the nerve pain. When I am having flares, I put that on, and that definitely helps. Edibles, if I'm having a high anxiety day or a depression day or a really bad pain day, and I just need to maybe take a little break or relax, I might eat an edible. And then, of course, the regular flower, which I do inhale. And that. But again, it all really just depends on the person and what you feel comfortable doing. You may not feel comfortable eating an edible. That may make you, well, then you don't have to, or just start little. It's up to you, really, at the end of the day. So currently my CRPS is in a state of remission. I do have a lot of nerve pain still. I want to stress that enough. I don't want to say, cannabis has completely healed me, I am back to normal, life is amazing. That is not the case at all. You can see that's the Raynaud's flare in the pictures of my fingers. I go through about 4 or 5 attacks of those a day, where my fingers turn completely white, numb, I can't feel them, it's very painful, and I have to work on that. The other picture is my RSD flare in my feet. I still have a lot of pain and different times and different things. And also, I have a lot of PTSD from, I think, almost losing time is what I call it. I feel like there are 9 years I was just way over-medicated in this bed, and I feel like I have just lost this time. So I'm still just trying to learn to readjust, to get back to things. I truly believe without medical cannabis, I don't think I would be here talking to you today. That person in that wheelchair that I showed you in the beginning, she was dying. Her body was shutting down. And I believe that it was all the medications that were shutting my body down at this time. You know, especially the opioids. Everybody is so worried about the opioid epidemic and what they were doing about it. It's the heroin. No, it's not the heroin users, I don't believe. We now know we should not have prescribed these for long-term chronic pain use, that it does nothing to really help your body but causes inadvertent addiction, dependency, and can shut it down. There's no medical benefits. Would I have lost my teeth if I wasn't on all these medications? I don't know. I don't know. So I find that very interesting. So lastly, I again want to thank Gracie for giving me opportunity to come and share my journey and share how medical cannabis has really helped me. It has helped me completely get my life back. So I want to thank Gracie, thank you for that. And thank my mom over there for her support through helping me through everything. And my boyfriend David is at home, and thank him for putting up with me, because I get crazy sometimes. Lastly, I want to say medical cannabis not only helped heal my body, but it helped heal my mind. Just as she said beforehand, you know, you need your mind to relax to help your gut and help your whole body just flow. So it really has healed my body and my mind. So thank you.